G'day guys, 28th of the 4th, 2025. For this video, I'm going to try recount the symptoms and how I uncovered, getting sick or discovering I had cancer. So, just saying this or recording this, it is now April or end of April, and I was diagnosed 6 months ago, back in October 2024. So it all started because I was doing some yard work in the backyard, and after about an hour's worth of work, it started to rain. So we called the day off, and I went inside. That day, I remember wanting to sleep straight away. The following day, I slept pretty much the whole day, and then the day after, which was the Monday, I went into work and then called in sick, left the office, and went home. That week, I was supposed to go on a overseas holiday trip with the family, but that didn't happen. So the short end of it is my wife told me to go to the doctors, which I really do, and asked me to go get some medicine for what I guess was thought to be a flu or a general type of sickness. I couldn't do a teleconference because I hadn't seen the doctor in such a long time, so I had to actually go into the medical center, because it has been well and truly over 12 months since I visited the doctor. Upon getting in to see him, it was the general, how you feeling? What can I do? All that kind of stuff. I thought it was just a need for antibiotics, but he did ask the extra question, how are you feeling? And I answered, I've been a bit short of breath, and I've been coughing a little bit. He said, no worries. How about you go down the road and go get an x-ray, because you are going overseas and it's best to just get a checkup, because it's been such a long time and it sounds like you might have something going on with your lungs. This is obviously after he put on that little circle thing and listened in, to see what was happening inside there. So I went down to the x-ray place next to the doctor's office, which wasn't far, but in my condition felt like an eternity. And he was nice enough to prioritize the results, knowing that I was going to go overseas. The next day, he rang me first thing in the morning and told me he had the results come through, and sent me a photo to show that my lung, or my left lung, had pretty much been flooded with fluid, and there was concern it was going to be collapsed. So he asked me to drive into the emergency hospital and check myself in as soon as possible. So I followed his instructions and went to the hospital and signed myself in, and within 15, possibly 10 minutes, I got through the door that was my first alarm bell because it's never that fast to get through um, the emergency room. And as expected, my scans were done again, and it showed that my lung sac was flooded. But what else the doctors discovered was the heart sac around my heart was also flooded. So I went through, um, I guess, under an emergency. I didn't know how bad it was at the time. They told me it was potentially pneumonia, or however you say it, and so they stuck through a few drains in around my lungs and around my heart. At this point, I didn't feel I was detrimentally sick or anything like that. I knew I was sick, but I didn't know the extent of it. But after getting these drains connected through, I was admitted to hospital and I guess was parked in, parked into a section where they could observe me. After a day or two, I remember it being quite a concern because my drains were still in and I was in a lot of discomfort. I remember them grabbing samples, and I remember my wife coming in to see me with my son Archer. My wife was pregnant at the time with my son, my second son, so it was pretty full on. Still the same, I didn't think it was too much of an issue until I got the news that I potentially had cancer. So they tested the fluid and they found some cancerous cells. It, they couldn't tell me what type of cancer and how it came about. So they asked me a gazillion questions on a regular basis and got me to do a whole bunch of CT scans, I think an MRI at some point, and a PET scan, so PET scan. So the PET scan showed that I had cancer in my around my lungs, around my lymph nodes, and my rib bones at that early point. So that was pretty freaky going through all that, but they couldn't tell me what particular cancer I had and where it originated. So continuing on, I remember um, being really sick and being in a lot of pain. And there was one particular weekend out of the 4 weeks I was in hospital where everything just went crazy. I remember a whole bunch of doctors coming through, and at this point, or up until this point, the doctors didn't really say anything about how long I had left upon me asking them a gazillion times, because obviously I was freaking out. But this particular week or weekend, I think it was Thursday at this point, where the cancer became quite aggressive. And I recall asking the doctor how long I had left. Um, it was at this time where they did disclose that the cancer was somewhat uncontrollable at this point, and I couldn't start chemo until the Monday coming. So this was Thursday. I was pumped with a whole bunch of painkillers and steroids and I don't know what else. And I remember hallucinating like a madman. So these drains I had in um, overnight, I had poured out somehow. I remember waking up and asking my wife for help. She told me that she found me in a pool of blood, but I was fortunate because I had a surgery that was booked in that morning. So after my lungs and heart sacs were drained out, they had to cut a window in my heart sac. So if fluid ever built up or flooded that area again, it will drain um, away. So, from what I recall, there was a total of 6 liters of fluid that was drained away from the lung areas, and I think 2 or 3 liters around the heart. So, it's not saying that that's how much was around it at one point in time. It might have been draining out and then refilling and then draining out. That detail I don't particularly remember the details, but whatever it was a lot of fluid and a lot of blood clotting uh, in that time as well. So to add, I had a stent operation to put a stent in to separate some parts around my heart and my lungs or something like that. And I managed to get past the weekend and start chemo on the Monday. Um, I didn't particularly want to do chemo because of all the horror stories that I heard, and I recall that day being probably one of the most difficult times I have ever had. Upon my recent meetings um, with my oncologist, Dr. Victoria Bray, who is an absolute godsend. She told me that it was a general chemo, nothing too aggressive. Um, but the reason why it was so painful for me is because of the condition I was in and how sick I was. So after doing the chemo, um, I remember that night actually giving up on everything. I up to that point was fighting for my life, had my family in mind, my son, my soon to be son, and my pregnant wife, who did everything, did absolute everything for me. And I'm absolutely grateful. So I had that fight in me, but I remember after that chemo, that session, that night, having all the pain and all the discomfort, I literally gave up on everything. Somehow, miraculously, I woke up the next day still here, and I'm grateful for everything. So it was pretty grim. And then following that day, I I guess had that fight in me. I had purpose. I was thinking about my family, all that kind of good stuff, and I got through it. I had extreme nausea. I was vomiting. I lost 10 kilos of weight within 6 days or something like that. I couldn't eat any meat. I couldn't smell meat. I couldn't even eat much in general up until probably a week after that. So I had to learn to walk again, learn to stand up again because I had been bedridden for 4 weeks. Uh, and yeah, I just remember it being quite scary. Um, I am fortunate that I had a lot of friends and family and such a great support network around me. It gave me the motivation and the energy to fight every day. And I know that if you're watching this and you don't know me, you might be going through something, or you might know somebody who else might be going through something. Um, be there for them because it does help, and it helps a lot. They might be fussy, they might be angry. Generally, I'm a pretty positive person, and I'm quite robust to challenges. But some of the experiences I had in hospital were the toughest times I have ever had, physically and mentally. It was absolutely crazy. So I don't wish it upon anybody. So after being discharged, finally, I remember being loaned out a wheelchair, a stroller thing, and a shower chair because I couldn't stand up. I remember going back to my couch and feeling it was the best thing in the world. And I remember the feeling of hugging my family and just being able to just sit there and lay there and hug them. It was the best thing that could happen to me in probably the worst time. So, yeah, it was absolutely crazy. I forgot to mention earlier, but I did mention it in my last video that I have been diagnosed with lung cancer with a biomarker of ROS1, ROS1. I've been told it's quite rare, a 1 to 2% percentile for everyone who gets lung cancer, and I am taking a chemotherapy or a targeted therapy, I should say, medicine, which is called repotrectinib, if I've pronounced it right. My body has been taking it very well. The side effects have been quite crazy. I was fainting quite often. I was feeling crazy dizziness. I was facing crazy fatigue. I will mention that before I went into hospital, I did experience a lot of fatigue. There'll be parts of the day where I was nodding off. almost to the point where I was asleep. I thought I was just burnt out. That's the reason why I didn't see the doctor. A lot of things were going on in my life at that point or that year, so I didn't make too much of it. I guess once being referred to the hospital or asked to go to the hospital, it all went in a blur. Whole life just changed overnight. I'm feeling a lot better now. I'm feeling a lot happier now. But yeah, it was quite miserable. I will speak about some of the mental challenges that happened, but I just wanted to just speak about, I guess, my general symptoms before and after being diagnosed. So, just to summarize, before I was diagnosed, I was feeling somewhat burnt out in life. I was experiencing a lot of fatigue. I had a shortness of breath, and I was coughing a little bit, and it didn't seem too out of the norm until I actually got myself checked up. After being diagnosed, I went through the whole hospital stuff. Uh, Upon leaving, it was mostly the side effects of the medicine, which was quite strong, and possibly the cancer as well. But yeah, up until now, it's been quite a journey. Um, I'm not sure if I spoke about everything, but if I think of anything more, I will speak about it in the videos that follow this.